Hello and a very warm welcome to our special edition Parliament Matters from the Parliament House Complex, your weekly roundup of all important developments in Parliament and also the highlights of last session of Rajya Sabha. I'm Mishra and now let's begin the show. The winter session of Parliament will commence from November 18th and shall conclude on December 13th. A number of important bills are likely to be taken up during this session. Here are the details.
The winter session of Parliament will start from 18th November and continue till 13th December. Two crucial ordinances are on the list to be converted into law during the winter session of Parliament. One ordinance, the corporate tax rate for new and domestic manufacturing companies to boost growth, was issued in September to give effect to amendments in the Income Tax Act 1961 and Finance Act 2019. The second ordinance, also issued in September, banned the sale, manufacture and storage of e-cigarettes and similar products. The Parliament, in its first session after the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, passed not only landmark bills like repealing of Article 370, geographical reorganization of Jammu and Kashmir, Triple Talaq Bill, new Motor Vehicle Amendment Bill, but also created the record for maximum bills passed in one session in the last several years. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Ahead of the historic 250th session of the Rajya Sabha, Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu has convened a meeting of leaders of various political parties in the House on November 17th.
Rajya Sabha is set to celebrate its historic 250th session. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu has convened a meeting of leaders of various parties on November 17th. The meeting will be held at Chairman Naidu's official residence. The ensuing session coincides with the 70th anniversary of the adoption of the Indian Constitution by the Constituent Assembly and celebration of the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. While the Lok Sabha is dissolved either every 5 years or earlier to elect a new house, the Rajya Sabha is a continuous house. Its first session was held in May 1952. Article 80 of the Constitution lays down the maximum strength of Rajya Sabha as 250, out of which 12 members are nominated by the President and 238 are representatives of states and union territories. Mishras Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The Parliamentary Committee on Science, Technology, Environment, Forest and Climate Change has expressed concern over rising cancer deaths in the country. Chairman of the committee, Jairam Ramesh, submitted the report of the committee to Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, M. Venkaiah Naidu.
Expressing concern over 68% of cancer patients dying in the country, Parliamentary Standing Committee on Science and Technology, Environment, Forest and Climate Change has strongly urged the government to expand and upgrade cancer treatment infrastructure for affordable and quality care by enlarging the network of Mumbai-based Tata Memorial Centre. The Parliamentary Committee recommended setting up of a high-level steering committee headed by the Minister of State for Atomic Energy with the Chief Secretaries and Administrators of all states and union territories and Director of the Tata Memorial Centre as members to work out modalities for rolling out of hub and spoke model in a time-bound manner to not only contain patient migration but also to ensure state-of-the-art facilities as close as possible for cancer patients. The committee noted very high incidence of cancer in all northeastern states and recommended that the Dr. B. Barua Cancer Institute at Guwahati be upgraded as a common hub for the region. While expressing concern over the cancer care institutes acting in silos, the report noted, the committee is submitting this report in the hope that the Government of India will take a comprehensive view instead of having the report examined by the department concerned and a routine action taken report being submitted to Parliament. The committee expects that such an action taken report will be submitted after its recommendations are examined by the Department of Atomic Energy and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare jointly and a holistic view taken. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu complimented the committee for being the first to submit a report after reconstitution of committees in September this year and also for examining and reporting on an important healthcare issue. The chairman will ask concerned ministers to have the recommendations of the committee examined for necessary action. Mishras Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Chairman Naidu also inspected newly procured e-vehicles in the Parliament complex. These newly procured vehicles will provide transport facility to the members of the upper house.
In a bid to reduce carbon emissions, the Rajya Sabha Secretariat has decided to include electric cars in the fleet of Parliament House vehicles. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu inspected the fleet of e-vehicles in the Parliament complex on Friday. Rajya Sabha Secretary General Desh Deepak Verma flagged off the newly procured e-vehicles for providing transport facility to members of Rajya Sabha.
एनसीआर क्षेत्र में जो आज प्रदूषण की स्थिति है और पूरे विश्व में जो क्लाइमेट चेंज का प्रभाव आ रहा है उसको देखते हुए ये लगता है कि जो हमारे अल्टरनेट सोर्सेज ऑफ एनर्जी हैं उन पर बेस्ड और सारी एक्टिविटीज़ को हमें बहुत बढ़ाने की ज़रूरत है और इस दिशा में राज्यसभा सचिवालय ने आज अपनी फ्लीट में 2 इलेक्ट्रिक कार्स को जोड़ करके ये एक कदम इस ओर बढ़ाया है.
These electric cars will be used as part of the fleet of vehicles used to provide transport services to MPs. A decision on increasing the number of e-vehicles in the fleet will be considered in the future.
सबसे अच्छी बात यह है कि इन इलेक्ट्रिक कार्स का कंजम्पशन बहुत कम है और ये जो इलेक्ट्रिक कार्स हैं इसके चार्जिंग स्टेशंस राज्यसभा के पार्लियामेंट के प्रीमाइसेस के अंदर ही बने हुए हैं जहां पर ये चार्जिंग भी इसकी हो सकती है और हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि आने वाले समय में हम इसको और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इस्तेमाल करके प्रदूषण के विरुद्ध जो पूरा विश्व का संघर्ष है और देश का संघर्ष है उसमें हम अपनी भागीदारी निभा सकेंगे.
The government made major announcements for pushing electric mobility in India as part of the Union Budget 2019. The GST rate on electric vehicles was brought down from the 12% to 5% in a bid to push the sale of EVs in the country. In addition, there is income tax deduction of 1.5 lakh rupees on the interest paid on the loans taken to purchase electric vehicles. Navikram Singh's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Time for a short break. Lots more on the other side.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Vishal Dahiya, at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha TV.
Among various historical markets in Delhi, Chhatta Chowk at the Red Fort is a one of its kind. This vaulted arcade, housing a string of double-storied shops, was specially built for, of and by the royals. Built by Shah Jahan, this market was inspired by the idea of a covered bazaar in Peshawar, a common design in West Asia. It was an innovation of sorts in India. Shah Jahan had instructed Mukarramat Khan, who was supervising the construction of the Red Fort, to build a similar covered market inside the fort. It was also a unique example of Mughal architecture with beautiful arches and painted ceilings. The bazaar has been popular through many names such as Bazaar-e-Musaqqaf or Meena Bazaar. It's divided into 32 sections on each side and was a premier hub for trade of silk, velvet, precious stones, silver and gold, among other things. This 300-year-old market is still functioning just as one enters the fort after crossing Lahori Gate.
on how many occasions motion of thanks was amended in Rajya Sabha. The motion of thanks on the President's address in Rajya Sabha has been amended thrice, in 1980, 1989 and on 12th March 2001.
The Nehru Trophy boat race of Kerala, popularly called Vallam Kali in local parlance. This historic boat race dates back to 1952 when Pandit Nehru visited the state and a pageantry of boats accompanied him from Kottayam to Alappuzha. The race, conducted on the second Saturday of August every year, is a major tourist attraction. It's generally the snake boats which participate in the race, and hence the shape of the winner's trophy is also a replica of a snake boat.
देखिए मेरे साथ देश देशांतर रात 8:30 सिर्फ राज्यसभा टीवी पर।
आने वाले समय में यदि कहीं देश नहीं तो विश्व के अंदर भी यदि उहापोह की स्थिति होगी, युद्ध होगा तो पानी पे होगा। ये इसके लिए एक हमें संघर्ष करने की आवश्यकता ज़रूरत है और जागरण करने की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी। और पानी नहीं है तो जीवन नहीं है।
Welcome back. You're watching Parliament Matters. Now let's take you through important highlights of the 249th session of the Rajya Sabha. In the last session, the upper house took up a short duration discussion on water crisis in the country. Members across political spectrum suggested a slew of measures to the government. Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat assured the members that the government was committed to providing clean drinking water to every household by the year 2024.
Back to the chair.
AAP leader Sanjay Singh initiated a short duration discussion in the upper house on the water crisis. Cutting across party lines, members expressed concern over the issue.
और दिल्ली में विशेष तौर पर इस जल संकट को दूर करने के लिए हम वर्षा के पानी को संकलित करना चाहते हैं, उसको संचयित करना चाहते हैं। उस जल संकलन की व्यवस्था के लिए यमुना के आसपास हमको केंद्र सरकार के सहयोग के बगैर, उनकी अनुमति के बगैर, उनके परमिशन, उनकी स्वीकृति के बगैर जल का संचयन नहीं हो सकता। मान्यवर,
सैकड़ों हजारों तालाब अचानक शून्य से प्रकट नहीं हुए थे। इनके पीछे एक इकाई थी बनवाने वालों की, एक दुहाई थी बनाने वालों की। एक इकाई और दिहाई मिलकर सैकड़ों हजार बनाती थी। परंतु दुर्भाग्य के पिछले 200 वर्षों में नए किस्म की थोड़ी सी पढ़ाई ऐसी पड़ गए लोग कि समाज ने इकाई, दाई, सैकड़ा, हजार बिल्कुल खत्म करके पानी को शून्य कर दिया।
अब माननीय मंत्री जी का जवाब।
Responding to the discussion, Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat said the government would undertake and promote steps for water conservation and curb extraction of underground water.
कि यदि जल से जीवन को सुरक्षित करना है तो हमें शुरुआत अपने आप से करनी पड़ेगी, और अगर हम अपने आप से शुरुआत करेंगे तभी ये जीवन जल के से सुरक्षित हमेशा हमेशा के लिए बन सकता है। व्यक्ति अगर अपना उत्तरदायित्व समझेगा तभी ये सुरक्षा हमें प्राप्त हो सकती है। केवल सरकार के भरोसे या सरकारों के भरोसे यदि हमने इसे छोड़ा तो कभी भी हम आने वाली पीढ़ियों को सुरक्षा प्रदान नहीं कर पाएंगे।
The minister also requested MPs to spend money from their members of parliament local area development scheme on water conservation projects in their own constituencies and areas. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's take you through important zero-hour submissions of the last session. In fact, several important issues pertaining to public importance were raised. Here are the details.
whoever want to associate, send the
During 0 hour on July 30th, Jairam Ramesh of the Congress expressed concern over the river interlinking projects in the country.
While welcoming the creation of a new integrated Ministry of Jal Shakti, I wish to draw the attention of the government to the perils of moving ahead with the interlinking of rivers. In the subcontinent, given the dependence on the monsoon, the periods when rivers have surplus water are generally synchronous. And a recent study finds a significant decrease in monsoon rainfall over water surplus river basins in India. Given the topography of India and the way the links are envisaged, they might totally bypass the core dryland areas of central and western India, which are located on elevations of 300 to 1,000 meters above the mean sea level. Therefore, sir, I urge the Ministry of Jal Shakti to abandon this fixation on solving India's water problems through mega engineering fads and focus on urgent issues of water management, efficiency and conservation.
BJP member Shiv Pratap Shukla drew the attention of the House towards the need to desilt rivers to check floods.
उत्तर भारत की नदियों में मानसून के समय अक्सर करके बाढ़ की स्थिति आ जाती है और यह विभीषिका इतनी भयंकर होती है कि इससे हर साल हजारों गांव तबाह हो जाते हैं। मेरा सदन के माध्यम से यह अनुरोध है कि इन नदियों में ड्रेजिंग की व्यवस्था किया जाए, नियमित रूप से कराई जाए तथा नदियां गहरी हो सके जिससे कि रोकथाम बाढ़ की रोकथाम हो सके, जल संरक्षण को बढ़ावा मिलेगा, सिंचाई की व्यवस्था हो सकेगी, आवागमन के लिए भी इन नदियों का उपयोग हो सकेगा।
Congress member PL Punia expressed concern over missing names from electoral rolls.
और मेरा विशेष रूप से ये सुझाव है कि एक परमानेंट लिस्ट होनी चाहिए। जब नाम दर्ज हो गया तो हमेशा के लिए दर्ज होना चाहिए जब तक उसकी मृत्यु ना हो जाए या किसी दूसरे क्षेत्र में चला जाए, और जुड़ना तब चाहिए जब 18 साल का जब नौजवान हो जाए वोटर लिस्ट में ऐड होने के लिए, तो वो उसका नाम ऐड हो जाना चाहिए। और जो नए जगह पर नाम दर्ज होने के लिए जब शिफ्ट होता है कहीं, तो पहले जगह से नाम कटवाने के बाद दूसरी जगह से नाम होना चाहिए। तो परमानेंट लिस्ट अगर बन जाती है तो वो हमेशा के लिए रहेगी।
S. Muthukaruppan of the AIADMK urged the central government to ensure that Tamil be made an optional language for Tamil students in other states.
Our Honorable Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Mr. Edappadi K. Palanichami, has demanded to include Tamil as an optional language for study in other states, so that once these students go back to their hometown in Tamil Nadu, they will not find any problem in continuing with their education. Therefore, I urge upon the Union Government of India to include Tamil as an optional language for study in other states, and it would be great service to Tamil language, maybe all regional languages.
BJD member Amar Patnaik highlighted problems being faced by small and marginal farmers in getting institutional credit.
So with your permission, I would like to raise the issue of protection of small, marginal and tenant farmers. So more than 90% of the approximately 38 lakh farmers of Orissa are small and marginal. Similar situation obtains in many other states too. To remain profitable, most of them supplement their land with another 5 to 6 acres from other landowners taken on oral lease for which they don't have valid documentation. This inhibits their access to formal credit institutions and leads to dependence on informal channels of credit, which in large measure is responsible for the agrarian distress in the states. The state under the leadership of Naveen Patnaik, Orissa state under the leadership of Naveen Patnaik launched farmer-producer organization policy during 2018. Agriculture production clusters are being promoted in 40 tribal blocks of 12 districts for end-to-end solution from farm gate to the market. I demand that the mandate for the National Cooperative Development Corporation may be expanded to include FPOs and agriculture production clusters so that they can avail funding from NCDC.
DMK member TKS Ellen Govan said the Indian textiles industry was facing threat due to imports of garments like t-shirts and silk through Bangladesh.
The textile industry is facing threat from the import of textile items like t-shirts, silks and other textile items from various countries through Bangladesh. which is used as a point to subvert the duty structure of other countries' textile items. This is affecting local producers and our local market. I humbly request officials of Textiles Ministry to visit any leading chain of stores. They can see that majority of textile goods are made in Turkey, Bulgaria, etc., all coming through Bangladesh. Chinese goods are labeled as made in Bangladesh, will totally finish the Indian textile industry if government fails to act immediately. Not only increasing the duty on Chinese silk, but also the import of silk from Vietnam to be regulated by the government to prevent backdoor entry of Chinese silk into India.
Issue of plagiarism, increase in bank charges were also raised during 0 hour. Kriti Mishras Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And before the commencement of the winter session of Parliament, let's take a look at the productivity of the Rajya Sabha during the previous session. In fact, the 249th session of the Rajya Sabha turned out to be most productive in last 20 years in various aspects of functioning of the House. Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu said that Rajya Sabha has turned around from disruptive past with a new normal.
The 249th session of the Rajya Sabha was the most productive of the last 17 sessions of the upper house. At 104.92%, the House reported above 100% productivity for the first time in the last 5 years. In terms of legislative output, 32 bills were passed in the 249th session. It made it the best of the 52 sessions in the last 17 years and the fifth best in the last 41 years.
Honourable members, I now like to present the facts about the turnaround and new normal that has been realized during this session. In terms of legislative output, the passage of 32 bills during these 35 sittings. This session is the best in the last 17 years. Accounting to 52 sessions, 35 bills were passed during the 197th session in 2002. The best performance in this regard in the last 41 years since 1978 for session-wide data is available was 37 bills passed during 131st first session in 1984. This session is also the fifth best in regard to in the last 41 years. The turnaround during this session also came out clearly and viewed against the passage of a total of only 33 bills during the last 5 sessions, 244 to 248 put together. In terms of utilization of the available time of the House, the productivity of the House with 104.92% productivity, this session is the best in the last 5 years. Since 2014 and coming after 17 sessions. During the last 5 sessions, the productivity of the House ranged from a low of 7.44% to a maximum of 65.60%. And the change is gratifying with the House reporting 100% or more productivity for the first time in the last 5 years.
With a total duration of 195 hours in 35 sittings, the session was the longest in 14 years. Oral answers were given to 151 starred questions, which was the best performance in the last 14 years. 194 special mentions made it the outstanding performance of the House in the last 4 years, while 326 zero-hour submissions marked the 249th session the best in the last 20 years.
The total time availed of around 195 hours. This session is the best of the 36 sessions spread over the last 11 years since the 213th session in 2008, from when such information is maintained. It is pertinent to note that during the last 5 sessions, total function time of this House has been only 173 hours and 33 minutes spread over total of 88 sittings. With 35 sittings, this session is the longest in the last 14 years. The previous record being 38 sittings during the 204th session in 2005. In the context of different opinions expressed over the length of the session, it is relevant to know that since the inception of Rajya Sabha in 1952 until 2013, this House had 30 or above sittings per session 27 times. Of the 9 sessions had 35 or more sittings each. The longest session since 1942 was the 9th session. 1952 was the 9th session. In 1955 was as many as 50 sittings. with a total of 151 stalled questions taken overall answer. This session is the best in the last 14 years, coming after 45 sessions. With 326 zero-hour submissions, this session is the best in the last 20 years, spanning 63 sessions since the 186th session in 1999. Before that, no such session-wise data is maintained here in the House.
The upper house passed a range of important legislations in aid of socio-economic transformation. Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu noted that the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Bill and the Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Marriage Bill passed during this session were truly historic. He also pointed out that the wide divergence in the past in the number of bills passed by the two houses of the parliament has almost been wiped out in this session, with Rajya Sabha passing 32 bills as against 35 by the Lok Sabha. The chairman also noted that with the 249th session proving to be more productive, the negative coverage in the media has almost vanished, and complimented the media for wide coverage of the contents of bills introduced and passed. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
So that's all we had for you in this edition of Parliament Matters. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha Television.